The fire cracked softly in the middle of the alien forest camp, shadows dancing across the strange wooden huts and glowing vines that climbed every tree. The human explorer sat with a metal cup of boiled water in his hand, his clothes dusty from travel, his eyes tired but alert. He was still not used to being here among creatures that were not human at all. Yet they had accepted him, at least for now. The air smelled of smoke mixed with the wild scent of damp fur, and it made him uneasy. Then the alien canine walked closer, a creature that was half wolf and half humanoid, its tall frame casting a long shadow over the flames. Its fur shimmered silver under the moonlight, its yellow eyes glowing as if carrying secrets too heavy to speak. It bent down close to him, its breath warm, and in a low, serious tone it said the words that froze the human's blood. "Brace yourself, human, you're about to be a puppy parent." For a heartbeat silence hung in the camp, then bursts of laughter came. From the others, alien canines rolling their shoulders back, showing sharp teeth as they chuckled. Some slapped their knees, others howled with amusement. But their leader did not laugh. Its glowing eyes stayed fixed on the human with no trace of humor. The sound of laughter quickly turned into uneasy whispers, and the human realized this was not a joke at all. It was a warning. His chest tightened. He looked around, searching the faces of the aliens. But most turned their gaze away as if they were afraid to explain. The one who spoke remained close, its clawed hand resting heavily on the human's shoulder. He tried to smile, pretending he did not understand. But deep inside his heart pounded. He wanted to believe it was just a trick. Yet something in the canine's stare told him that destiny was already moving. The night wind blew harder, the fire hissed. Sparks rose into the air, and for a moment it felt like the forest itself was listening. He remembered stories told back on Earth. Legends of wolves, packs, and howls under the moon. But this was different. This was not Earth. These were not animals. They were intelligent beings with ancient traditions, and if they spoke of him becoming a puppy parent, it might mean something far beyond his imagination. He felt a strange heat under his skin, a tingling in his wrist as if something invisible was marking him. He hid his hand quickly under the table, not wanting anyone to see. One of the younger canines leaned close to another and muttered words in their own tongue, their ears twitching, their tails low. They glanced at the human with both fear and curiosity. He could sense it. Whatever this meant, it was not simple. He tried to speak, to ask what they meant, but his throat felt dry, no words came out. The canine leader tilted its head, studying him like a teacher watching a student fail to understand. Then it said again, louder this time so the entire camp could hear. "The bond has begun." The others grew silent, some lowered their heads, some stepped back as though standing too close to him might burn them. The human's heart hammered harder, the fire popped, and in that sharp sound he thought he heard an echo, not in the camp but inside his mind. A faint howl like distant thunder rolling across mountains. He shook his head, trying to push it away, but the sound only grew clearer. It was not just in his head, it was alive, calling to him, pulling at him. The canine leader's eyes narrowed as if confirming what it already knew. The human stood quickly, almost knocking over the cup in his hand. "I don't understand," he said, his voice trembling. "What are you saying? What does this mean?" But no answer came. The pack only stared, the silence heavier than chains. Then from the far side of the camp an old elder stepped forward, bent with age but strong in presence. The elder pointed its claw toward the human's wrist. The human followed the motion and slowly raised his sleeve. His blood froze, glowing faint lines had appeared just under the skin, like threads of silver fire, pulsing softly with his heartbeat. The crowd gasped. Some covered their mouths, some growled nervously. The elder's voice was grave. "It has started." The human stepped back, panic flashing in his eyes. He wanted to deny it, to run. But where could he go? He was alone on their world, surrounded by their laws and legends. The alien canine leader leaned closer again, its tone calm but final. "You are not here by chance, human. The forest chose you, the bond chose you, and soon you will understand." Those words sank into him like ice, his body shaking. He wanted to scream but only silence left his lips. The fire burned lower, shadows stretched longer, and as the night deepened the human realized his life was no longer his own. The warning was true. He was not just a visitor in their camp anymore. He was part of something he could neither refuse nor escape. The laughter was gone now, only the weight of fate remained, heavy as the dark sky above, and in that silence, he felt the faint echo of another howl inside his chest, this time not distant, but his own. The night did not end peacefully for the human. Sleep refused to come as he lay inside the simple tent the pack had given him. The walls made of stitched hide, the smell of smoke and damp earth all around. His eyes stared at the ceiling, his body tense. Every sound of the forest made him flinch. Rustling leaves, the distant call of night birds, and sometimes the sharp cry of unknown beasts deeper in the woods. But above all of it was the memory of those glowing eyes and the words that refused to leave his mind. "You're about to be a puppy parent." He wanted to laugh at it, to call it nonsense, but the mark on his wrist still burned faintly, glowing when he pressed it against the cold air. No matter how many times he rubbed it, the glow would not fade. He pulled the sleeve down to hide it, even though no one was there to see, yet he could not hide it from himself. In the silence he kept hearing faint whispers, soft as wind, voices that sounded young, playful, almost like children giggling far away. But when he sat up and held his breath, the camp was silent. He shook his head, pressing his palms against his ears. But the sound was inside him, not outside. When he finally drifted into restless sleep, dreams rushed at him like waves. He saw himself standing in the middle of a forest clearing, surrounded by glowing eyes in the dark, small shapes circling him, their little paws leaving prints of light on the ground. They were pups, wolf-like but different. Their fur shimmered like silver flame, their eyes golden like the leader's, and they looked at him with trust, not fear. "Parent." Their voices echoed in his head, not in words but in feelings, a bond deeper than speech. He gasped in the dream, stepping back, but the pups followed, nuzzling against his legs. One of them licked his hand and where its tongue touched, his skin glowed brighter. He woke with a sharp breath, sweat dripping down his face. His heart racing. Outside the tent the forest was alive with howls. But this time he could hear them layered, some far away, some close, and one inside his chest, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. He stumbled out into the night air. The campfire was low but some of the pack were awake, watching him quietly, their eyes reflecting the flames. When he met their gaze they quickly looked away, whispering among themselves, tails twitching nervously. He realized they were afraid of him, not in the way predators fear prey, but in the way people fear prophecy. He felt his stomach twist. The leader approached again, tall, powerful, its silver fur catching the starlight. "The bond grows fast," it said, voice steady. "You cannot run from it." The human clenched his fists. "I didn't ask for this," he snapped, his voice breaking with frustration. "I don't even know what this means." The leader tilted its head, ears flicking back. "You will," it replied. "When the time comes, then." It stepped closer and sniffed the air near the human, its nose wrinkling. "Already your scent is changing." The human stumbled back, horror filling him. What did that mean? Was his body changing? Was he becoming something else? He wanted to deny it, to scream at them that he was human, nothing more, nothing less. But deep down he already knew something had begun. The mark, the dreams, the whispers, they were real. He pressed his back against the tent pole, shaking his head. "I want to go home," he muttered, his voice low, but home was light years away, unreachable. He was alone on this world, surrounded by those who believed he was now bound to them. One of the younger canines crept closer, its fur dark and its eyes wide. It stared at the human like a child would stare at a strange hero, then whispered softly, "Parent." The word cut into him like a knife, his breath caught. He turned and ran out of the camp, into the forest. The night air cold against his skin, branches clawing at his clothes. He didn't care, he just wanted to escape. He stumbled through the thick underbrush, tripping over roots, his chest heaving. The forest was alive with glowing plants, insects buzzing with faint light, and every shadow seemed to follow him. Then the whispers came back, louder this time, the same playful voices from before. "Parent, don't leave." They chimed in his head. He froze, clutching his skull, falling to his knees. The voices weren't threatening. They were innocent, almost loving. And that terrified him more than anything else. He looked up, and for a split second, he thought he saw them. Small glowing shapes moving between the trees, tails wagging, golden eyes shining. He blinked and they were gone. But the mark on his wrist pulsed in time with his heartbeat. He stumbled back to the camp at dawn, exhausted, covered in scratches. The pack stood waiting, silent, watching him. The elder stepped forward, eyes deep with knowledge. "You cannot fight the forest, human. You cannot fight blood." The human's knees weakened, and he realized that no matter how hard he resisted, the bond was already inside him. And soon the truth of what it meant would arrive. The confession had been only the beginning, and now the change was moving faster than he could stop. The morning sun filtered weakly through the dense canopy of alien trees, casting streaks of gold over the camp. The human sat near the dying fire, his eyes hollow from a night without rest, his hands still. Trembling, he tried to pretend that nothing had happened, that the strange whispers and glowing shapes in the forest were just illusions born of fear. But the mark on his wrist pulsed softly, glowing whenever the light touched it. He kept his sleeve pulled down, though he noticed some of the canines watching him with sharp interest, their noses twitching as though they could smell something different about him. Then the elder appeared, moving slowly yet with an air of command. The others stepped aside in respect. The elder's fur was streaked with gray, his back slightly bent. Yet his golden eyes still burned with ancient fire. He stopped in front of the human, his gaze fixed on the hidden wrist. The human swallowed hard and finally spoke, his voice shaky. "Tell me what this means. Tell me why you call me parent." His words echoed in the camp, making the air heavier. The elder inhaled deeply before speaking, his voice rough but steady. "Long ago, before your kind reached the stars, our people lived by prophecy. One prophecy spoke of a foreigner, not born of the pack, who would carry the future of our blood." The human's brows furrowed, his body tense. He wanted to argue, but the elder lifted a clawed finger and continued. "When the moon burns silver, when the forest whispers with voices of young not yet born, then the chosen will come, their blood will mix with ours, their spirit will bind, and the first of the new litter will rise." Whispers rippled through the gathered canines, some lowered their ears, others bared their teeth nervously. The human shook his head violently. "That's impossible, I'm human, I can't do this." The elder's eyes softened, as though pitying him. "You already have, the bond has begun, your dreams are not lies, they are visions, and the voices you hear are not madness, they are the pups calling to you." The human felt his throat dry. The memory of the glowing pups nuzzling his legs in the dream returned. His chest tightened until it was painful. He pressed a hand against it, shaking his head. "No, no, I won't believe this," he muttered, his voice cracking. The leader of the pack stepped forward, tall and commanding. "Believe or not, human, the forest has chosen. You cannot unmake what has been started." Anger flared in the human's chest. His voice rose as he stood, fists clenched. "I never agreed to this. I never asked to be part of your prophecy. I just came here to survive." His words shook but carried a desperate edge. Yet the elder did not move, his voice heavy like stone. "Fate does not ask, it takes. And now it has taken you." The human's legs weakened. His breath quickened, the others muttered, tails flicking, ears twitching. Some seemed excited, others looked afraid. As though his very presence was dangerous, he stepped back, eyes darting to the forest, an urge to run clawing at him. But then a sharp howl cut through the air, long and deep, echoing through the trees. Every alien canine froze, their ears rising, eyes glowing brighter. The human clutched his head because the sound was not only around him, it was inside him, vibrating through his bones, filling his lungs until he could not breathe. The elder pointed toward him with a shaking claw. "Do you feel it, human? That is the call of the unborn, and they are calling to you." The human dropped to his knees, gasping for air, his wrist burning with light. He pulled his sleeve back and saw the mark glowing fiercely, spreading like veins of silver up his arm. The younger canines gasped, some stepping back, others staring in awe. His heart pounded louder, faster, until it felt like a drum that matched the rhythm of the distant howls. The elder's voice carried like thunder. "You are the bond. You are the bridge between human and pack. You are the parent of the litter that will change everything." The words stabbed into him. His eyes widened, sweat ran down his face. He wanted to scream that it wasn't true, that he was just a man, fragile and mortal. But deep inside he knew the truth was already shaping his body, already bending his spirit. He pressed his palms into the dirt, trying to ground himself. His mind swirled. He saw flashes of the pups again. Their eyes, their voices, calling him father. His vision blurred, and then darkness began to creep around the edges. He fell forward, hearing only one last whisper in his mind before collapsing completely. A small, innocent voice that whispered, "Don't be afraid, parent, we are coming." And with that, silence swallowed him as the prophecy continued to unfold. The human woke with a start. His body drenched in sweat, his chest rising and falling fast as though he had been running in his sleep. He blinked against the soft glow of the alien sun filtering through the tent hide. The camp was quiet but not calm. He could sense eyes on him, watching, waiting, measuring every movement he made. He sat up slowly, his head pounding, and when he looked down at his wrist, his stomach turned. The mark that had once been a faint silver glow now stretched across his veins like living fire. Pulsing with each beat of his heart, it was spreading, no matter how much he tried to deny it, no matter how tightly he clenched his fists. The change was happening. He pressed his sleeve down again. But he knew it was useless. The pack had already seen it. They knew more than he did. Stepping out into the camp, he felt the air heavy with tension. The younger canines kept their distance, whispering among themselves, some with tails low as if in fear, others with excited eyes glowing as though waiting for a miracle. The elder sat near the fire, eyes closed, as if listening to something beyond. The leader stood near the edge of the camp, tall and strong, his fur catching the light. When his gaze met the humans, it was not with hostility but with certainty. The certainty of someone who already knew how this story would end. The human wanted to scream at them, demand answers. But before he could open his mouth, a sound pierced the camp. Not from the forest, not from outside, but from inside his own body, a faint howl, soft, but undeniable. His eyes widened in horror, his hands clutching his chest. No, no, that wasn't me. He whispered, but the silence of the pack told him they had heard it too. The leader stepped forward, his voice deep and calm. The first sign. He said, "The bond is no longer hidden." The human stumbled back, shaking his head. "I don't want this. I'm not one of you." His words broke in the air, but the elder's voice cut through like a blade. "You are more than one of us. You are both, and you are the path for those who come after." The human's legs gave out, and he dropped to the ground, gasping. His hearing sharpened suddenly. He could hear every snap of twigs, every insect crawling in the dirt, even the quickened heartbeat of those standing closest to him. He clutched his ears, trying to block it out. But the world had become too loud, too alive. The scent of smoke, fur, and earth rushed into his nose all at once, overwhelming him until his stomach churned. His senses were not his own anymore. They were changing, sharpening, twisting into something else. He staggered up, stumbling toward the forest, desperate to get away from their stares, desperate to breathe. But as soon as he crossed the tree line, the whispers returned, louder than before, voices like playful laughter filling his mind. "Parent, we are near." They echoed, the words soft but unstoppable. His knees buckled and he fell against a tree, his breath ragged. He slammed his fists into the bark, shouting, "Leave me alone." But the whispers only grew warmer, kinder, not threatening but terrifying in their innocence. And then he saw them again, not in dream but with open eyes, small shapes flickering between the trees, glowing outlines of pups, tails wagging, eyes bright like stars. They danced around him, paw prints of light marking the ground. He stumbled back, but wherever he moved, they followed. One pressed its tiny nose against his hand, and the mark on his wrist flared brighter, sending a surge of warmth through his veins. He gasped, nearly collapsing, his vision blurred, his heart thundering. Behind him he heard branches snap. The leader had followed, his golden eyes calm but serious. "You see them now," he said, his tone almost reverent. "They are real, and they are yours." The human shook violently, anger and fear mixing inside him. "I'm not their parent. I'm not even part of your kind." His voice broke into the forest. But the pups' glowing forms only circled closer, their soft telepathic voices answering him. "You are ours, we are yours, do not fear." He fell to his knees, tears burning his eyes. The leader stood silently, letting the moment consume him, finally speaking in a low tone. "This is only the beginning, human. Soon the forest will claim you completely, and when the litter arrives, you will understand why fate chose you." The human clenched the dirt in his fists, his entire body trembling, caught between denial and the undeniable truth unfolding before him. The first signs had appeared. His senses were no longer human. The pups were no longer visions, and the bond was no longer a prophecy. It was real, living, and growing inside his soul whether he wanted it or not. The forest did not remain calm for long. The human had barely risen to his feet when the air changed. The wind carried with it a strange smell, sharp and metallic, and the pack in the camp grew restless, their ears twitching, tails stiff, growls rising from their throats. The leader raised his head, his nose sniffing the air, his golden eyes narrowing. "They know," he muttered, his voice low but heavy with meaning. The human froze, his body still trembling from the visions of the glowing pups. "Who knows?" he asked, his voice weak. But the elder stepped out of the camp with surprising strength for his age, leaning on a carved staff, his eyes dark. "The rival packs," he said grimly. "They have heard the prophecy has begun. And they will come to take or to kill what they fear." The human's chest tightened, fear spiking inside him. His mark pulsed brighter as if reacting to danger. He wanted to deny it. But deep in his bones he could feel it too, an approaching presence, something hungry and violent. Before he could speak, a howl ripped through the trees. Not soft like the whispers he had heard before, but sharp and furious, echoing with hatred. The pack around him stiffened, their fur rising, their claws sliding from their hands. The leader snarled, "They are here." Then everything happened fast. Shadows moved between the trees, figures darting in and out of sight, their eyes glowing red instead of gold, their fur darker, their voices filled with rage. The rival pack had come. The human's heart pounded wildly, panic shot through him. "What do they want with me?" he shouted. But he already knew the answer. The elder's prophecy had painted him as the bridge, the parent of a new bloodline, and to some, that was a gift, but to others, it was a threat. The rival canines burst into the clearing, their bodies lean and strong, teeth bared, weapons of bone and metal in their claws. Their leader stepped forward, a towering beast with scars down his face, his voice a deep growl. "Give us the human, give us the cursed one, and we may spare the rest." The pack around the human snarled, forming a protective circle. The leader of his pack bared his teeth. "You will not touch him." But the rival leader only laughed, a chilling sound. "You call him chosen. We call him corruption. His blood will poison your kind. Better to end him now before the litter comes." The human staggered back, his chest aching, his throat tight. He felt like prey trapped between hunters. The whispers in his head rose again. The soft, innocent voices of the unborn pups. "Parent, run," they urged. His mark burned hot, his muscles trembling with strange energy. The leader of his pack turned sharply to him. "Go, into the forest. They want you, not us. Run and survive. We will hold them." The human shook his head. "I can't leave you to die for me." But the leader shoved him hard toward the trees, his golden eyes fierce. "You must, the litter depends on you." Then chaos erupted. The rival pack charged, howls shattering the night, claws slashing, teeth snapping. The camp became a storm of violence. The human stumbled back, torn between guilt and terror. Before he knew it, his legs were moving, carrying him into the darkness of the forest. Branches tearing at his clothes, the ground uneven beneath his feet, but the mark on his wrist guided him, glowing faintly, pulling him forward. Behind him he could still hear the clash of battle, the roars and snarls echoing through the trees. He ran faster, his lungs burning, his senses sharper than ever. Every sound of pursuit rang in his ears. Every scent of blood and fear filled his nose. He could not escape what he was becoming, and yet he could not stop. Suddenly a figure lunged at him from the shadows. A rival canine, its red eyes blazing, its claws reaching for his throat. Instinct took over. He raised his arm and the mark flared like fire. The attacker froze mid-lunge, its body shuddering as if struck by invisible force. The human's own roar ripped from his throat. A sound not fully human, not fully alien. The rival canine stumbled back in shock, fear flashing in its eyes before it fled into the trees. The human fell to his knees, gasping, horrified at the sound that had come from him, his hands trembling, his breath ragged. "What's happening to me?" he whispered, but the forest gave no answer. Only the whispers of the pups returned, stronger now. "Parent, do not fear, we are with you." Their voices wrapped around him like chains, pulling him forward deeper into the forest. Behind him the howls of his pursuers still echoed. The chase had only begun. And he knew this was not just about survival, it was about destiny. A destiny he never wanted but could no longer escape. The human stumbled deeper into the alien forest. His body scraped and bruised from the chase, his breath ragged as he leaned against a twisted tree glowing faintly with veins of blue light. The whispers in his head had grown stronger, no longer faint or distant but clear and insistent. Soft childish voices calling him parent again and again. His hands shook as he pressed them to his ears, trying to shut it out, but it only grew louder inside his mind. He felt the mark on his wrist pulsing harder, spreading further up his arm, glowing brighter with every heartbeat, until it seemed his entire body was burning from the inside. His knees buckled and he collapsed to the ground, gasping. The forest swayed around him. the air shimmering as if reality itself was bending. Then the visions came, not dreams but clear and solid. The underbrush parted and from its small shapes emerged. They were pups, not illusions this time but real, their paws soft and glowing, their silver fur shimmering like starlight, their golden eyes wide with innocence and warmth. They circled him, tails wagging, their soft voices filling his head and his chest at once. "We are here, parent, we are yours." Tears stung his eyes, his throat locked. He tried to deny it, to scream at them that he wasn't theirs, that he wasn't ready for this. But when one pressed its little muzzle against his chest, he felt his heartbeat slow, the fire in his veins cooling, the terror inside him softening. A warmth spread through him like a blanket against the cold. He fell back against the earth, his body trembling. "How can this be real?" he whispered, but the pups licked his hands, their soft fur brushing against him, leaving trails of light that sank into his skin, every touch binding them closer. The mark on his wrist flared brighter than ever, the lines of silver fire now wrapping around his chest and neck, not painful anymore but strangely natural. His senses steadied, he could hear their tiny heartbeats, smell the faint wild scent of their fur, feel their joy as if it were his own. It terrified him and comforted him at the same time. Then from the shadows the leader appeared, his golden eyes glowing with awe. He did not approach immediately but stood watching, as though witnessing the fulfillment of prophecy itself. "They have arrived," he said softly, his deep voice trembling for the first time. The human looked up at him, eyes wide. "What are they?" he whispered, though he already knew the answer. The leader stepped closer, lowering to one knee, his gaze never leaving the glowing pups. "They are the future. They are your blood and ours, the litter of destiny." The human's stomach twisted, the words echoing through him like thunder. He wanted to argue, to reject it. But when he looked down again and met the eyes of the smallest pup curling into his lap, he felt a bond so deep it broke his resistance. The little one's voice echoed gently in his mind, "Don't be afraid, we love you." He felt his chest ache with a strange mix of sorrow and wonder. Tears slipped down his cheeks, his heart breaking and healing at the same time. Suddenly the air around them shifted. A distant howl rose through the forest, not friendly, not warm, but cold and filled with rage. The rival pack had picked up his trail. The leader's ears twitched, his body tensed. "They are coming, they will smell the pups, and they will stop at nothing to take them." The human's arms instinctively went around the little glowing creatures, pulling them close. His body trembling with fear but also with something new, a fierce protective fire he had never known before. His voice cracked but steady, "They won't touch them," he said, surprising even himself. The leader's eyes met his, and for the first time there was no doubt or pity, only respect. "Then you are truly their parent," he said firmly. The human shook his head in disbelief but held the pups tighter, their warmth spreading through him like strength. The whispers grew louder, not pleading this time but encouraging. "Stand, parent, we are with you, don't let them take us." His body moved almost on its own, his legs rising, his chest straightening, the silver glow spreading across his skin until it looked like armor of light. The pups circled him, their small bodies radiating a power that merged with his own. In that moment he understood. He was no longer just human. He was no longer just an outsider. The pups were here, real and alive, and with them came a responsibility he could never run from. His fear burned away, replaced by determination. He looked to the trees where the hostile howls grew closer, his jaw tightening, his fists clenched. "Let them come," he whispered, "I won't run anymore." And for the first time, the forest itself seemed to answer, the wind carrying his vow like a challenge. The arrival of the puppies had changed everything, and the chase was about to turn into a war. The howls drew closer, echoing through the forest with a rage that shook the trees. The human stood in the clearing with the glowing pups circling at his feet, their soft golden eyes fixed on him with trust, their tiny voices whispering in his head, giving him courage he didn't know he had. The leader of the pack stood beside him, claws drawn, fur bristling, his face carved with grim determination. "They are many," the leader growled, his sharp gaze fixed on the darkness between the trees. "But tonight they will learn that fate cannot be hunted." The human swallowed hard, his heart racing, but for the first time the fear was mixed with something else, resolve. He bent down, brushing his fingers through the soft, glowing fur of the pups, their warmth filling his veins with strength. His mark flared like fire, the silver lines crawling across his chest and arms until his whole body glowed faintly in the night. Then the shadows broke. Figures leapt from the trees. Dozens of rival canines with fur black as ash and eyes burning red. Their snarls split the night. Their claws gleamed in the dim light. They surged forward like a wave of fury. The leader roared, his pack answering with defiant howls. The clash came like thunder. Claws raked against claws, teeth snapped. The clearing exploded into chaos. The human stood frozen for an instant. The pups pressed close to him, their voices rising louder. Fight, parent, don't let them take us. And suddenly his body moved, instinct driving him. He stepped forward, his fist striking out as a rival lunged at him. The blow landed with a force he didn't know he had. The attacker was hurled backward, crashing through the underbrush. The human gasped, staring at his glowing hand. Then another rival came, snarling, teeth bared, and the human roared, the sound not fully his own, deeper, wilder, echoing like the call of the pack. The rival hesitated, fear flashing in its red eyes before slashing forward, claws tearing across his chest. But instead of blood, silver light sparked from the wound, healing faster than his mind could process. Rage surged through him. He struck again. This time with both fists. The rival fell, silence in its eyes. The human staggered, his body trembling, but the pups' voices steadied him. We are here, don't fall, parent. Around him the battle raged. The leader fought like a storm, his claws slicing through enemies, his howl shaking the ground. But the rival pack was strong, their numbers overwhelming. More poured from the trees, circling, cutting off escape. The elder stood in the distance, chanting in a low voice, his staff glowing faintly as if calling on the forest itself. The rivals sneered at him. Old fool. One spat before lunging, but a streak of light burst from the staff, striking the attacker down in smoke and ash. The human felt his blood burn hotter, his senses sharper, every movement of the rivals, every breath of the forest around him, all of it alive inside him. He dodged a claw swipe with speed he shouldn't have, his body twisting in ways unfamiliar. He slammed his elbow into another rival, dropping it. The pups barked with joy in their minds, their small glowing forms dancing around his legs. Every time they touched him he grew stronger, faster, as though their bond fueled his body. But the enemy was relentless. The rival leader stepped forward at last, towering above them all, his scarred face twisted in fury. This ends now, he growled, his red eyes burning into the human. You are no parent, you are plague. He leapt, claws wide, his strength crashing down like a hammer. The human raised his arms, bracing, their bodies collided. Silver light clashing with dark fury. The ground shook. Beneath their impact, the rival leader snarled, forcing him back. The human gritted his teeth, the silver glow around his arms flaring brighter. I'm not your curse, he growled through clenched teeth. I'm their parent. He shoved forward with a roar that shook the trees. The rival leader stumbled back, shock flashing in his eyes. But rage quickly replaced it. He charged again, faster, deadlier, claws slicing through the air. The leader of the pack intercepted, his golden eyes blazing. The two alphas collided, claws and teeth flashing in a storm of violence. The battle turned savage. The pack screamed and fought, bodies clashed. The human was pulled back by instinct, shielding the pups with his arms as the forest floor grew thick with the sound of growls and cries, blood mixing with the glow of silver light. His chest heaved, his eyes wide, but the pups pressed against him, their tiny voices fierce. Stand, parent, they need you. He rose again, his body trembling but unbroken. He charged into the fray, striking down another rival, then another, his movements no longer human but something greater, something new. The pups howled in unison, their small voices joining the battle. The sound rippled through the clearing, strange and powerful. The rival pack faltered, their ears flattening, their eyes filled with sudden fear. They stumbled, some retreating into the trees. The rival leader roared in defiance, but even his followers hesitated, their courage breaking under the combined force of the newborn bond. The human stood tall, his glowing skin blazing like fire, the pups circling him like living stars. The rival pack had come to destroy, but now they were crumbling, and he realized in that moment that he was no longer just running, no longer just a victim. He was fighting for something more than himself. The war of the packs was being decided here, and the outcome would change everything. The clearing fell into a tense silence broken only by the heavy sound of growls and labored breaths. Bodies lay scattered, some still, some groaning. The soil stained dark where claws had torn through flesh. The human stood in the center, his chest heaving. His arms glowing faint silver as the mark pulsed brighter than ever before. The pups huddled close to his legs, their golden eyes wide but fearless, their little voices still echoing in his head with steady warmth. "We are safe, parent, don't stop, don't fall." Their presence filled him with a strength he did not understand, strength that was no longer borrowed but his own. The rival pack, broken and blooded, began to retreat into the trees, some dragging the wounded, others limping, their courage shattered by the sight of him glowing with light and the impossible pups alive at his side. Yet the rival leader still stood, scarred and furious, his red eyes burning with hate, his chest heaving as he bared his teeth. "This isn't over," he snarled, his voice shaking the air. "Your bloodline is a curse, human, and I will see it ended." With a roar he charged again, his claws flashing, the ground trembling under his weight. The human stepped forward, pushing the pups behind him, his own roar ripping from his throat, not the weak cry of a man but the deep call of a predator. His voice filled the forest, shaking the branches. The rival leader slashed down, claws tearing toward his chest, but the human caught them with his bare hands. The silver glow blazing so bright it lit the trees around them. Sparks of energy burned the air. The rival leader snarled, pushing with all his strength. But this time the human did not stumble, he held firm, his muscles locked with new power, his eyes blazing silver fire. "I am not your curse," he shouted, his voice thunderous. "I am their parent, I am the bond." With a final surge of strength he twisted, hurling the rival leader to the ground. The beast crashed with a roar, dirt and leaves scattering. Before it could rise the human placed his glowing hand on its chest. The mark on his wrist pulsing like a storm. The rival leader froze, his body shaking, his red eyes wide with fear for the first time. "The forest chose," the human said, his voice low but final, "and you cannot fight fate." Silver light surged from his palm, spreading through the rival leader's body. The beast howled in agony before collapsing, his red eyes dimming. Silence followed, heavy and absolute. The rival pack saw their leader fall and one by one they lowered their ears. Their snarls fading into whimpers, they bowed their heads, some even pressing their snouts to the dirt. Submission rippled through their ranks like a wave. The battle was over. The human staggered back, his breath ragged, his body trembling, but the pups ran to him, nuzzling his legs, their voices soft and proud. "You are ours, you protected us, you are the alpha." The words struck him harder than any blow, his knees nearly gave out. But the leader of his pack stepped forward, blood on his fur, wounds across his chest. Yet his eyes shone bright. He lowered his head in respect, a gesture that stunned everyone. "You are no longer outsider," he said, his deep voice carrying. "To every ear, you are alpha, chosen by forest, by blood, by bond." The pack around them, battered and weary, slowly dropped to their knees, bowing their heads in acceptance. Even the rivals, broken and beaten, bent in reluctant surrender. The human's heart pounded, disbelief flooding him. He wanted to shout that he was just a man, that he was no leader, no parent. But the pups pressed closer, their warmth steady, their voices gentle. You always were." Tears burned his eyes, his chest tightened. He looked at the wounded, the bowed heads, the glowing pups that had come from him and yet beyond him. And he realized the truth. He could never go back, never return to the life he knew. He had been chosen, shaped, bound by destiny written in both blood and light. He was human, yet more, father, yet alpha. His voice cracked as he lifted his head, silver light still burning across his skin. "Then I will not run," he said firmly, his voice carrying across the forest. "I will not deny what I am. If I am their parent, if I am their alpha, then I will protect them. I will protect all who bow to this bond." The trees seemed to sigh with the weight of his words, the forest alive, the prophecy fulfilled. The pups howled softly, their small voices rising, and the pack answered, lifting their heads, their howls joining together in one sound that shook the night sky. The rival pack, defeated but bound to the new order, added their voices too, a chorus of acceptance, of surrender. The human stood tall among them, no longer lost, no longer alone, his eyes blazing with silver fire, the pups circling him with joy, the pack bowing before him, the forest itself echoing his vow. The outsider had become the center, the prey had become the alpha, and in that moment, a new legend was born, one that would spread far beyond the trees. whispered in fear and awe, the tale of the human who became parent of the litter. The bridge between worlds, the new alpha of the packs.